So this week there was plenty of exciting news coming out of iRacing with their developer update that they sent out to everyone with a subscription. There is lots and lots of information in there about not only what's coming out in the next season, but also what they've got in the works and some really exciting stuff if you're an Australian racer like I am, but if you're a fan of Australian tracks and Australian cars around the globe too, that might just miss the Season 4 update or will miss the Season 4 update, but that will be meaning that the next season is going to have quite a lot of new content in it. So let's have a quick look through what they sent out, and I'll give you my thoughts on what I'm excited about and what I am looking forward to with the upcoming release. Alright, so there's lots to cover in this one as well, so we're going to make our way through it quickly. So first and foremost, they're talking about a new track coming out for Season 4, which is Cobra Park. The iRacing does a fantastic job of getting out and scanning a lot of circuits, obviously a lot of remote circuits, and saving stuff that is closing down, thinking of things like Oran Park and the like. But Cadwell Park, or Cadwell Park I should say, is not one that I'm that familiar with. Another UK circuit, so it looks like it's going to be short and tight, but looking forward to giving this one a try. So they also mentioned there that Thruxton is coming and Croft is coming. That reminds me a lot of my early racing days, having a look back at the PlayStation when you're running the TOCA touring car stuff. So it's great to see these coming. It'd be awesome if they brought out some of the old touring cars as well, if they could find them to scan. But more additions of UK tracks, which is great. Probably the bigger thing for mine, and something that I wish they had have got out in time for the 24-hour event, is the update to Circuit to Spa, or Spa as everyone knows it. As I say, a long time coming. We've known this has been happening for a while, and I think in the time that they have scanned the track, obviously there's changes to En Rouge that were made. So that's what they're bringing on, and Rodillion as well. So those changes that they've made to the track have finally come into iRacing, but in the time between when they've scanned it and when they're going to get it onto the sim, they've resurfaced the track as well. So probably more important that they get the changes to the track into the sim than the resurfacing. For your casual gamer, you probably won't notice that much of a difference between the surface they're running now and the one that's going to come out on the new release. So this hopefully will make it. They said there's a 50-50 chance it's going to be out for Season 4. And in my mind, look, I'd prefer them to get it right and not release it in Season 4 if there's still bugs in it that we have to keep updating or fighting with, or things that just aren't quite right. But if you're not interested in the definition of the trees and stuff like that, then perhaps you probably want them to get it out. If you already own Spa, it's just going to be an update, so you're going to get it for free. If you don't yet own Spa, obviously you're going to have to buy it, but I'm not sure there'd be too many people who are out of rookies who wouldn't buy Spa, or even if you are in rookies who wouldn't buy Spa and want to race it on the sim. Car news: if you're into the GT4s, the new BMW M4 GT4 Evo will be out. So again, if you've already bought this car recently, or you're considering buying the car recently, you'll get a pro rata cost, or you'll get the update for free. If you're like me and you bought it ages ago, then you're going to have to buy this new vehicle, I believe. And again, if you're in that D-level license, the GT4 is a great category. The racing's good, and it does prepare you well for the GT3 stuff when you get into it. So one that I'm keen to give a drive, and we'll do a full new car review when the season updates, so look out for that one. Another one that's been in the works for ages is the McLaren. So the McLaren is one of the cars in GT3 that really hasn't changed a lot in the last, 2 years or so. And this update's been coming. I've been looking out for this. The McLaren's a really, really good car to drive. It's just not competitive anymore because it is a little old, even though they use the BOP. But this will definitely bring it back into the fray. A great looking car. Obviously the render there is dull, but once you put that papaya color on it, it's going to look absolutely fantastic. So I'm really excited to give that one a go, and it could, depending on how it goes, lead for a change for us away from the Ferrari, which we've run for so long. Be interesting to see how competitive it is against the Ferrari. It's such an easy car to drive. So how they go with the McLaren, we'll have to wait and see. So obviously with the McLaren coming out, it'll be interesting to see how that goes against the Ferrari. We're stalwart Ferrari drivers because the car's so great to drive. But I am keen to move into something else. I was hoping maybe the Mustang might have convinced me and the team to move away, but we've decided to stick with the Ferrari just for preparation time more than anything else. But as I said, in the video that we'll do reviewing the season when it launches, we'll jump straight into this McLaren and give it a red hot crack, probably around Spa because it's one of my favourite tracks, to see how it fares and do some back-to-back testing against the Ferrari, probably on some baseline sets, of course. We use VRS pretty much exclusively, but it'll be a while before they get any sets out for Spa, so keep an eye out for that one when the season launches in around about 4 weeks' time, as at the date of making this video. So I also dropped a note here that said, in addition to this, iRacing wanted to thank the significant efforts of the engineering team that's made to improve and optimize the loading and rendering systems. So the next thing they spoke about is mini stock, and I've been trying to broaden the amount of racing that I do on iRacing. So I've fallen into the trap as a new iRacer years ago of just running the tracks that I know in the cars that I know, because I wanted to protect iRating and safety rating and all that stuff. But taking a different approach to my racing in the last 12 months where I just want to run and have fun. And in doing so, I've done a lot more oval track racing as well. And stock car racing is not something that I'm that familiar with, but I'm enjoying. So I'm excited to have a look at this mini stock. It reminds me of the Legends series, and jump in and have a look at that. So they'll come out as well. So we'll give that a crack and see what series coming out in week 13 to have a go of those when they are released. The next bit they went through is then just some enhancements to the overall system, the overall game, I should say, and some bug fixes. Spotty rain's an interesting one. So you would have probably noticed that with the rain system or the Tempest system, that there's no sort of build up to it as such. The rain just sort of starts coming and then you go, whereas obviously in real life it's very unusual to have just a massive downpour just instantly start. It does happen, of course, but not the general experience. So they've introduced spotty rain, which I think is a good addition, and it's going to help you, not really help you actually at all. It's going to make the racing more interesting, because obviously you're going to start getting a little bit of a wet line on the track with some light rain in parts of the circuit. And so it'll mean that, you know, if you're brave on the dry tire, if you can keep the temperature in the dry tire and use the ABS and traction control settings and your brake bias a bit to manage how the car performs on the track, that this will bring another dynamic to the racing that we do in the rain. So I'm excited for this to come through. I think it's going to be a good addition or in the development of the Tempest system, which I still think iRacing's done a fantastic job at bringing into the sim. And while we're on the subject of rain, TCR's getting rain, so rain tyres I should say. So adding in the Audi, Honda, the Hyundais, and the Renault Clio and the Ford FR500S. That's going to be a beast of a thing to try and tame in the rain. It's terrible in the dry, so that will make for some interesting racing in that sort of MX5 class that it runs in as well. So this means that rain is a certainty at the Nürburgring next year for the 24-hour event. So it's never too early to start preparing, in my opinion. So I definitely would be preparing for that, with I think now every class that runs in the 24-hour event having rain tyres available to them. So bear that in mind in your practice and your preparation for those events as they come up. The qualifying visibility, this is an interesting one. So basically what they're doing there is that once you finish your qualifying, rather than sitting there looking at the scenic view that you get on iRacing once there's nothing on track, you're actually going to be able to see other drivers doing their qualifying laps. I get this. It's a great addition, or it's an addition. It's not really anything that really bothers me that much. I think during that couple of minutes extra of the qualifying, generally people jump off and do their race prep, the quick loo stop or grab a drink of water or whatever the case might be. So, but I guess if you're in the hunt for a podium, you want to probably have a look, or in the hunt for pole position, I should say, you're probably going to want to have a look at what the other drivers who have left their late run are doing. So, in addition, it's good. It adds to the realism a little bit, but equally, you know, once you jump out of your car qualifying, you don't generally sit there and watch the other cars qualify, unless it's a shootout or something like that. So yeah, you know, look, something that's an addition, but neither here nor there for mine. Dirt enhancement, don't have a lot to say about that because I haven't done a lot of dirt driving. And this is one that I've seen a lot of feedback about. So, enhanced multi-manufacturer and multi-class splitting algorithm. Now, the splits is something that we've spoken about a fair bit on this channel so far, and how the splits work and how they're calculated and how you might end up with a split with aliens and all that sort of stuff. But what they're talking about here is that they're trying to balance out, and we had it at the not at the Nürburgring, we had it at Spa, I think it was, where you've got multi-class racing, and it wasn't Spa either, actually. So the next one that we're going to talk about is this enhanced multi-manufacturer and multi-class splitting algorithm. Now, I've seen some feedback about this in the chats, in the forums and stuff that I'm on for sim racing. And there's a little bit of contention about this, with people suggesting that it means that you're going to end up with drivers with 300 iRating who probably shouldn't be driving a particular type of car, ending up in splits with high class drivers, just to try and balance out the number of vehicles. So in quick summary, what they're trying to do is avoid an incident where you might have multi-class racing, say it's in an endurance race, and because of the popularity of, say, the GT3s, there's no LMP vehicles in a race, which obviously doesn't replicate real life. You've obviously always got LMP and GT3. So, you know, you look at Le Mans, for instance, there's certainly circumstances where splits have no LMP cars in it whatsoever, and it's just a full GT3 race. So what they're trying to do is to work out a way to balance that out, so that you don't end up with 19 Ferraris, no LMPs, and basically something that doesn't replicate real life racing. And that they can balance it out so that the field has some variance in terms of the entrance of drivers, entrance of cars. So it's an interesting change that they're making. Do I think that a lot of people are really that worried about it? Probably not. I mean, we're always refreshed when we don't have to deal with LMP cars, because a lot of the time in our split, so we're in that sort of 2K or so iRating split, the guys that are in those cars haven't spent a lot of time in them. They don't understand how to pass properly. They generally run with we're the fastest car, so get out of our way mentality, and it actually wrecks the race. So we're normally happy not to have them. So again, while I see that what they're trying to do is to balance out and make it more realistic, I'm not really sure that there's that many people crying out for this as a development improvement. They're going to do a test series in week 13, so I would encourage everyone to try and jump into that. And it's probably a good time as well, if you've not had much experience driving any of the LM or prototype cars, to jump into one and have a crack at it. They're going to do the test to try and get some data back out of it to be able to improve how they're implementing it. And there's also a trophy that you can get, which they called something like the test, where was it? The test series trophy that you're going to get, which apparently available iTest award for everyone who joins. Whether you're into that sort of thing, you're trying to collect pages, I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of people in the sim doing that, but you know, you get a little bit of something back for it, and they get the information they need to try and help improve it. So I think rather than poo-poo it or say, well, whatever, if you can jump in, particularly if you do endurance racing, jump in and give them as much information as we can back to try and help improve it, because ultimately that's what they're trying to do for us. So we'll watch this space around this one. Obviously it doesn't apply to NASCAR, but yeah, have a look at that week 13 test series. We're going to jump in and have a look at it and give some feedback on it as well. So another thing that iRacing's doing is instant AI. Now, I'm a bit over the UI updates. People probably aren't, but you know, at the end of the day, the UI is the UI. It's not bad, it's not broken. but they've introduced this feature called Instant AI, which I actually think is a good thing. So if you're wanting to test or you're wanting to get into a particular series and you're wanting to see how quick you are, you can literally go into the sessions, and where you've got your test drive normally, you can click race against AI and it will set up a race for you with AI support. And it's pre-configured to the car, track and settings for that series. So including weather settings, track state, those sorts of things. So I think this is a really good addition, rather than having to manually go through and set up AI and do all those things. The only thing I'm interested to test is I find that the AI sometimes can be difficult to get at the right strength, where you see the AI continually braking early or doing weird things that you wouldn't expect other racers to do in the race. And I think part of that's because of the way the AI works in terms of following that racing line that that iRacing implement in that perfect driver line, and the brake areas where you might be beyond that. But look, if you're still learning and it's still something new to you, that you're trying to learn a new track and you want to get race experience on that track before you go out and go full on in the series and see what you can do, then not a bad addition for people to be able to jump in and have a crack at. Again, we'll do some testing and a video about this once it comes to fruition. So that's everything that's coming out in Season 4, but there were heaps of tidbits to gather from the rest of the communication that we got. And I want to take you through it because some of it's pretty exciting for particularly us Australian racers, but I think for the iRacing server in general. So we'll go through that now. The tyre physics, they're always working on the tyre model and improving the tyre model. It's, again, one of the great things, I think one of the great differentiators between iRacing and, say, ACC and the other sims that are available is how realistic, to a loose word, but how realistic the tyre model is in sim. And so they are working more now on getting tyre feel through force feedback, which I think is a great thing, obviously with the introduction of the increased Hertz feedback that you can get through a majority now of the wheelbases that you can use on iRacing. It seems to make sense that they are introducing a force feedback calibration process for the sim, so you'll be able to do it straight away and set up your hardware for optimal usage without having to necessarily go and spend a heap of time dialing it in or using customized setups that are available through any of the software that associates with your hardware. So this is a good update for mine. I'm looking forward to seeing that coming out in the next little while. Graphics engine update, again, something that they're always working on, always trying to improve. I think that the graphics is probably the one place where iRacing falls a little bit behind, and it might be because of the platform upon which it's built rather than anything else. But they are always working to try and improve the way the game looks. And again, for mine, it's the small detail that you really want to have really, really clear on tracks, because it's what you use for your braking markers and your turn-in points. And the rest of the stuff, unless you're broadcasting it or unless you're watching back replays and you really want to, watch it in full high definition, for mine, this is important, but it's not necessarily the most important thing that we want to see on the sim. What I don't want to see is that they do all these updates and it just means that our hardware continues to struggle to keep up with running the platform at full ball. I've got a reasonably good computer and 4K and all that sort of stuff, so it doesn't bother me as much, but certainly with people with lesser hardware who are probably just getting into it, it's something that you don't want to see it blow them out of the water and them not be able to run at appropriate frame rates and at a decent level. But they're always working on it, and there's more stuff coming through that way. Track updates, Zolder definitely needs an update, so I'm glad to see that they're doing that. And it's not really an update; it's just a refresh of the graphics. and they did really good work on Okayama and Sebring, so that'll be good to see Zeal come through. And obviously for the Speedway guys, New Hampshire, I'm sure that needs it there as well. And then we get on to the best bit. So iRacing, as I said, do a great job of getting new tracks to the service. The Bend Motorsport Park. So if you're not familiar with the Bend Motorsport Park, I'm not sure why you wouldn't be, but if you aren't familiar with the Bend Motorsport Park, it's a purpose-built racing facility in Adelaide, or in South Australia. It's not actually in Adelaide, it's probably about an hour outside of Adelaide in South Australia, and it's an absolutely amazing facility. I've been there and raced on the track, and it is essentially a motorsport enthusiast paradise. So it's got 3 different length circuits on it. It also now has a drag strip. You can basically arrive and drive, so you can turn up in a car, park it underneath your accommodation, and then drive straight in that car straight into the track. It's an amazing facility that's been built in South Australia, and there are 3 tracks on it. It's got basically a state circuit, a national circuit, and then an international circuit. And the international circuit, don't quote me, is something like 7 or 8 kilometers long. It's a massive circuit. And it's another one of these tracks where they've taken inspiration from the best bits of all tracks around the world, combined them together and built them into a circuit. Now, I'm not always a fan of that sort of thing. I think, you know, En Rouge is En Rouge. You can't replicate that at another track, but they've done a good job here of tying it all together, and it really is a challenging circuit. So look out for that coming in the future. Obviously, they're only scanning that now, so that, you know, you'd imagine would be 6 to 12 months in the development. The other thing, they said Croft and Thruxton have been scanned, which we covered earlier, and they're in the development schedule. But they're also going to visit and scan Adelaide. Now, for those of you that aren't aware of that, before Melbourne took over the Formula One Grand Prix, Adelaide used to host the Formula One in Australia. It's a pure street circuit. If you're looking for something similar, it's probably close to Belle Isle. In terms of the way that it works. It's a concrete jungle, lots of hard curbs, and it's a really good track that will be well suited to the service. And it's also a track, because it's temporary in nature and it doesn't run the Formula One anymore, they do run the Motorsport Festival in Adelaide on that circuit. So they rebuild it effectively, and they're going to get over there and they're going to scan that in November for us, which is fantastic. So it means that if that track ever disappears from being used, that we'll be able to still use it, similar to Oran Park, similar to Pukekohe, which is coming. And this is a really good addition to the sim, and I think a circuit that a lot of people will find very entertaining when they get onto it in the sim. Interesting, they've got Valencia in the works as well. They haven't done much on Assen yet, but they're going to get there. And then there's some new stuff coming for NASCAR and for Dirt Road. So there's lots of new tracks coming, which is great. The next thing that excites me is these 2 lines here. So new GT3 cars are planning and in development. So I'm a massive GT3 fan, and this is great news for the service. So keep an eye out for that. And then the new supercars. So they were just about to come out in this season. They're not going to make it. But they are going to be probably out, I'd say, in the next season. So the V8 supercars in Australia, the ones that you currently know on the sim, they are the previous generation V8 supercars. So we've now got the Ford Mustang and the Camaro that run in the Australian V8 supercar series. So it's still going to be a tough car to drive in the same way that the V8 supercar is now, in the same way that the legacy V8 supercar are hard to drive, but they're challenging and rewarding cars to drive when you do get it right. So I'm excited to see the update come in and have a crack at those when they do come out. So that's something to look forward to in the next season. And then overhauling the Legends, which is great. They're a fun little car to have a crack at. And Oval Racing, there's plenty of new additions coming with the Proper Gen 4, NASCAR coming, and revisiting or updating ARCA, as well as new cars for Dirt Road, which is great. And that is just about it. They did apologise for the DDoS attacks. I'm absolutely 100% behind Greg here and what he says. I saw so many people coming out with, oh, I hope we get compensation for the time that iRacing's down because it's a paid service and we don't expect it. And I just look at it and wonder why those people even bother posting that sort of stuff in the forums, and just think, I actually feel sorry for how sad their life must be if they're looking for iRacing to compensate them for 30 cents worth of their subscription that they've paid for the service. Everything goes down, your internet goes down every now and again, you know, the electricity turns off every now and again, and you don't get compensated for that. iRacing don't want the service to go down. It's not in their best interest either. And to come out and say that you want compensation or money back for the period that you haven't been able to use the service is just absolutely ridiculous. So fully behind Greg here in what he says. You know, I can't imagine the number of hours that went into people correcting those issues. It didn't affect any of the big events. It only affected the day-to-day running. And I'm with them. I think they did a great job getting it resolved as quickly as they did. So, you know, a shout out to the developers and that for getting that fixed. So that's about it for this update. There's so much to cover. It reminds me of the update they did probably about 18 months ago where there was so much new content. Plenty of exciting things coming on iRacing, which for mine still makes it the preeminent sim racing platform to be on. What are you looking forward to? What were you surprised about? What are you excited about? Lots of British and Australian content coming, which is great. And I'm looking forward to this season that is about to be released and the new content. And we'll get some videos to you on that, as I said, when that releases. As always, drop some comments in about what you're looking forward to. And please consider subscribing to the channel if you have enjoyed what we're doing here. And we look forward to seeing you in the next video. And as always, happy racing.